want to tell you why I think that ISSA is dead wrong in this particular case in how it has handled this particular matter. ISSA is dead wrong in not listing all the charges that were laid on each institution. Hello and welcome to another in our series Technique Talk, where we talk about the things that nobody wants to talk about. And today we want to look at some decisions made by the Disciplinary Committee of the Intersecondary School Sports Association, ISSA, with some cases of eligibility that have been brought to them by participating teams. And of course, this has created somewhat of a controversy and lots of conversation taking place, some of it in a hush kind of tone, as to whether ISSA has ruled correctly with the cases that have been brought to them or brought before them. And so we want to talk about that, and I want to tell you why I think that ISSA is dead wrong in this particular case in how it has handled this particular matter, or these matters. But ISSA is the Intersecondary School Sports Association. It's an association of principals that have come together to organize high school sports, inter-school sports, and this is done for member institutions within the association. And it, of course, has its eligibility rules. It has its rules, and the players and athletes are eligible based on academic performance and also based on rules related to transfer and whether the student, how the student has been admitted into the institution makes them eligible or ineligible to participate in a particular competition. And so these are there and everybody needs to know them. Of course, a lot of persons don't seem to know the rules, but that's why you have cases where individuals are found in breach of these rules. But what has happened is that there's been two recent cases, and that has been brought to the fore with the releases that have come out of ISSA. And the first one has to do with a release that was came out on the 22nd of September, and this one has to do with an issue with Jamaica College. And let me read what the press release says. It says, Intersecondary School Sports Association Disciplinary Committee recently met and investigated a matter regarding the alleged use of an ineligible player in the Manning Cup season opener by Jamaica College against Tivoli Gardens High. The Disciplinary Committee found that Jamaica College used an ineligible player in that said game and has ruled that one, Jamaica College will lose all 3 points gained in the match, and Tivoli Gardens High be awarded the points with a score of 3-0 for the game played on Saturday, September 9th, 2023. The second ruling of the committee is that the player remains ineligible to participate in the 2023 Schoolboy football competition. And the third ruling is that Jamaica College will be placed on a 3-year probation starting September 21, 2023. So that's the first case. And, you know, persons might say, well, Jamaica College kind of got off the hook in just being placed on probation. But let's see. So the second release came on October 6th. And this is in relation to the Manning and DaCosta Cup competition. And it says that the Intersecondary School Sports Association Disciplinary Committee, same committee I would suspect, met on Friday, October 6, 2023 to investigate the use of ineligible players by Innswood High in the Manning Cup and Kellits High in the DaCosta Cup competition. The Disciplinary Committee found that both schools had used an ineligible player in their respective competitions, so it seemed to be the same breach, an ineligible player. Based on the severity of the offense, the following rulings were made. And the 3 rulings that were made from this, and you're seeing it on screen, both Innswood High and Kellits High have been suspended for the remainder of the 2023 Manning and DaCosta Cup competitions, respectively, with immediate effect. So this seems a little different from what was done in the previous case. The second ruling is that both Innswood High and Kellits High have been barred from participating in the 2024 Manning and DaCosta Cup competition. So there's a barring for the next season. This is very heavy. And the third thing is that the suspension only applies to the manning of the DaCosta Cup competition. So they're not extending this beyond this particular competition. And then it goes on to say ISSA will continue to investigate into the breaches committed by both schools and, where applicable, apply appropriate sanctions to any individuals or individual found to be complicit in this matter. And you go, wow, I mean, it seems like the same charge, but it's not really the same charge. And this is where I think ISSA has made a big blunder with respect to that. ISSA is dead wrong in not listing all the charges that were laid on each institution. So let's take the case with Jamaica College. You list every single breach, every single charge. After the investigation is done, you say, okay, ineligible player is one charge. Presenting a match card with an eligible player is another charge. Submitting whatever documents, another charge. You list all the charges, just like what would happen in a court. And of course, this is not a court of law, because a disciplinary committee meeting, you can't bring a lawyer. So there's no defense there. You can't bring anybody like that. You come and you answer questions, or you talk, or whatever. But listing all the charges, and each of the charges should have a penalty, and based on the rules. And not only that, but each of those charges, the committee needs to make a decision separately for each of the charges. So you might be found guilty of, using an ineligible player. And in this case, it should be the same penalty right across the board for every institution that uses an ineligible player. You lose the 3 points in the game, and the other team gets 3. I mean, nobody's arguing that. So that would be the same penalty for whichever institution that would have used an ineligible player. And then you go to the next charge. And of course, for each count, each time you actually have the use of the ineligible player, and if you had more than one ineligible player in the match, then of course it would be a separate count. And we accept that. But in both communication, both press releases, it did say an ineligible player. So we're assuming that only one player was involved. So in this case, 3 institutions, 3 players. We're assuming that. Okay? So ISSA should have listed all the charges. But by presenting it as just a case of ineligible player, then there seems to be this disparity in how the rulings have been handled. But clearly, from what is being said in the second release, one can surmise, without the details, that there is far more to it than they have released. And that is something that they would have uncovered through the investigation. And all we're saying on Technique Talk is that list all the charges. So you might have the case of using an ineligible player. You might have a charge of attempting to deceive a match official by using a fraudulent ID. Submitting false documents could be another charge. Misrepresenting the facts to an ISSA official would be another charge. Lying to the disciplinary panel, if the person comes and they tell you stories that you later found out that is not the case, then of course you hand down a different ruling on that. Attempting to bring the competition into disrepute. But list all the charges that the individual or the institution has breached, and then of course you hand down the rulings for each of them, so that you don't give the impression that there is one set of rules that are applied to one set of people, and then of course a different set of rules. And I don't think that's what ISSA is trying to do. So going forward, ISSA, we're going to suggest that, one, after the investigation, list all the charges, list them, and then of course the committee would make a determination based on those charges, based on information, whether in fact there has been that breach based on that particular charge, and hand down a ruling for each of them. You found guilty for this, found guilty for that charge, found guilty for this charge, and then lay down the penalties. So the competition is still going on, and we're looking forward to seeing some really good competitions coming from the various teams. But we're saying, make sure as we go forward, teams just abide by the rules. I mean, know the rules, get the rule book, study them, and let the best team win. Let us know what you think about this issue. Drop a comment down below, like and subscribe to our channel, and let others know about it. Thank you for joining us here on Technique Talk. See you next time.